That is Thursday, September 15th. I have shirt order forms. You just have to grab them from my desk. They're right over yonder. It's not due till next Friday. I'm looking into adding a short sleeve option, so to make it a little bit cheaper. If you want to do that instead, it'd be like a gray shirt. And so if you want to do that, I think that drops the price down to around $13. So I thought that might make things a little bit easier on people. So I'm going to be talking so you can get that. Quiz tomorrow. Your only homework is to read the fun they had. Again, this is due tomorrow. I'm going to keep repeating it each day so I don't have to be mean to you tomorrow. If it's not done tomorrow, how many points do you lose?
10,000.
5.
1.
3.
2. 6.
3. Unless you ask nicely, then I can make it 6, but I was only aiming for 3. And then what else do you lose? Chair. And then it also becomes late grade. And again, all the answers are on Remind. You can just go there and take a look at it. We can try to help you. This is the story you have to read for tomorrow. At 3:30 today, when Best begins, I am sending out a video link of me reading it. And you can just watch the 9-minute video of me reading it to you. Bring headphones with you to Best, and then you can just go pluggy and then listen to my melodic voice, and maybe that makes things easier on you. Or you can read it yourself, but I thought I'd at least try and help for those who wanted me to read it. Robert?
What happens if you can't plug it because you have AirPods?
Well, that sounds like a you issue.
Wait.
Alright, and then we have order form,
Activate.
order thing, talkie thing. Riley,
Wait, so this paper has nothing to do with the test tomorrow?
there's only like 3 questions from that because we're covering it together. The one that you have to read on your own, there's like 7 or 8 questions from.
Wow.
Like the ones over that story are easier, so I try to give you 3 to help bump the grade.
Yeah,
But a lot of what I have to test you on is your guys' ability to think on your own. Austin.
Okay, like, is it like testing over like, is it like
Everything we've been doing in class, where I keep having you guys figure out characters, setting, plot, exposition,
Oh,
for practice.
and also,
That's what the one that you have to read on your own for the fun they had.
So what are the questions going to be for this one?
Probably like foreshadowing. I could be like, what's an example of foreshadowing from the story?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Do we-
All
oh
right.
yeah,
Have this out during the test, right?
You can. The problem is you can always have stuff out. The issue is when you have stuff out, it slows you down. Because again, we have a time limit on the test. Because I also have to have you guys practice time limits. Like there are certain things I'm told to make you guys get better at, and one of them is being able to finish in time. And a lot of times kids will have the story, and they'll spend 10 minutes trying to look up the answer to one question, run out of time, and still have 10 blanks. They're like, oh no! And I'm like, that's why you can have it, just don't rely on it. Sebastian.
Do you think it's more special, Austin or me?
Both of you. All right, let's have the 3 of you get a chance to stand up and get points.
Please.
Home children, we're going to pause so you don't get to listen to them be awkward, and then we'll come back. Just use your imagination, trust me. However you imagine it, they're awkward. Hey, we're back. So we did foreshadowing definition with you guys from that one, which is the little things that pop up in the story, the clues. We've started getting to them already. It's just they don't make sense yet. The foreshadowing clues, because what's happening to the kid so far?
voices.
He's hearing voices, and there's something else that's happening.
His eyes.
His eyeballs.
Oh, there's
And so we're going to get to more clues today. And eventually by the end of class period, you'll have the, oh, and also, trust me, it'll make sense by the end, and everything will be like, oh, I get it. And just don't be like my 4th period where you start yelling at me, like, it's goblins, it's goblins, because then I have to be mean to you while we're still in the middle of reading. Robert?
I think I know what the foreshadowing is. He's going to.
Well, that could be. I can't give that away. I can't give that stuff away.
He can.
That's Robert's guess, is that the foreshadowing is foreshadowing that he dies.
Correct.
And I'm like, I can't answer that yet. Our main character's name is?
Sam.
There you go. And then he's the one that's hearing the voices. When is the story taking place so far?
In his house. In his house. At school.
Back again.
Science class.
Hang on. I said when, and you guys gave me
Oh, in the morning. No,
location.
in the morning and afternoon.
So, quick time out. This is one of the big things kids are going to miss tomorrow on the quiz, is because I'm going to say, where does the story happen? And you're going to say morning, and then you're going to lose points and be like, I didn't say when. So please make sure you actually read questions tomorrow. So yes, morning time, and then we found out it's the school day, because what's the first class he goes to? And that's when science happens. And then the where starts off at the house, and then after the house it goes to There you go, that goes to school.
So
So
cool.
we got some more voices. All right. And then science class, that's where the eyeballs happen and the light goes from one to the other.
Wow.
And now we have new scene with more voices.
Is there anything sciencey about that? You get it?
I mean, kind of. When you get to the end of the story and you find out how the goblins kill it. Oh, never mind.
Goblins! You just revealed it! Oh my gosh, we know the answer, guys!
So we got to the end of the whole front page where the voice, not the voice, yeah, the voice is yelling they're all dead and they're over there. For some of you, this will start slightly making more sense and you're going to pick up on what this foreshadowing is. So it's the bottom of that front page where it's, oh, pause real quick because I told you, pause. Home children, this works for you guys too. This popped up with an earlier class. I'm going to tell you guys before I forget. If you need to work on homework during class, because I had a kid doing it 4th period who did not have math done, instead of you trying to sneakily work on homework during class, just tell me. I will charge you 1 point and let you sit over in Struggle Town, and then you can work on other homework as long as you're right next to me learning. And I figured that's the trade that we can make. I'd much rather do that than have kids try to be sneaky and work on homework. If you just straight be like, hey, I didn't get my social studies done and I don't want to get yelled at, I'd be like, fine, charge your point, move you over, and you can work on it. That way I know you're sitting right next to me so you can hear what I'm saying and you can work on it. I'm happy doing that trade with you. Yeah.
Why was the baby sneaky with it and like you find out?
Then that's when I charge you the 3 points and sometimes take it from kids.
Oh,
That's
What
why
about
I
the
do
liar
wasting.
tags? What about the liar?
I can't hear you. Jehovah?
Can I get a drink of water?
Yeah, go for it.
Point for that.
I think this does bring you down to single digits, just so you know.
I'm thirsty.
That's fine. Okay.
I need
Austin?
What about the liar? What about the liar tags?
Well, that would not be lying. That's more of the sneaky tax. That's why I take
Yeah,
the
but they're
whole.
lying about you doing homework. Wait.
When you do it, I'll charge you the extra points.
What about the electric bills?
What about it?
He's lying.
So bottom of that front side. Man, Trevor said at lunch, you really had us freaked out today in Larks' class. I thought you were going to go all psycho on us or something. Your eyes were all flipped out. And the way you kept talking about dead people and stuff, that was spooky. You sure you're okay? Sam looked up from his sloppy Joe and gave his friend a smile. I don't know if you'd say I'm okay, but I don't know, I'm feeling better at least. This morning's really sucked, Trev. I didn't even think I could put into words how messed up it's been. He took another bite of a sandwich, chewed slowly, looking at his plate. Are you going to try? The question coming from his friend. Try what? Sam asked. Sheesh. Sheesh. To explain it to me, Trevor said in an exasperated tone. I haven't spoken with you since Mrs. Larks took you to the nurse. You keep saying weird stuff has been happening. Okay, well, like, what kind of weird stuff? Well, voices for one thing. I've been hearing voices. Apparently from people that aren't there. Like, I can hear them just fine, but I seem to be the only one. Wow, voices. Really? That's kind of cool. That's like full-blown crazy person stuff. I've never known a real crazy person before. Sam looked up at his friend in time to see his smile. It's not funny, Trevor. It's really scaring me. And there are bright lights going off in my eyes. It's like I'm looking at a light bulb with only one eye. It doesn't hurt, but it's weird and it's creepy and I don't like it. I just want it to stop. And you're bleeding, Trevor said. No, Trev, it's all been in my head so far. I haven't actually been hurt or anything. No, man, you're bleeding. Check out your arm. What? Sam asked and looked down at his right arm. Trevor was right. There was blood coming out of the crook of his elbow, and it seemed to be quite a bit of blood, too. What? Sam exclaimed while swiping at his arm. The arm tingled now, and it felt funny, but it didn't really hurt. You guys know where the crook is? It's the inner bit right there. So like all of a sudden, it's where you sheesh. So if you don't know, it's like sheesh. So that's where it is. Yeah. Too much. What's wrong with it? Trevor blurted and then asked more quietly, is there anything I can do to help? Wait, sorry, back up. He grabbed some napkins. Oh, wrong. Back up. He grabbed some napkins off his tray and wiped at the blood. He saw it was coming out of a small hole on the inner bend of his elbow. It was right on the vein. It was like the vein had just opened up and started shooting blood out on its own. What's wrong with it? Trevor blurted and then asked more quietly, is there anything I can do to help? Yeah, give me your napkins and go get a large Band-Aid. What's wrong? a soft voice asked. Sam spun in his chair to see nobody near him. Who said that? Stop fighting it! A much stronger voice resounded on his other side. He quickly looked to the side of the new voice and saw the same sight. Nothing. Losing him, the soft voice again. That sounded, what was it? Anxious? Worried? He wasn't sure, but it didn't sound good. Falling, a new voice this time, but what was falling? Sam thought he missed the beginning of whatever it was the voice said, and it bothered him. Something important was falling, and it seemed to involve him. So, quick pause. Good job. We introduced new main character, well, not main character, but new big character, which is?
Trevor.
And how would you describe Trevor?
He's very
Annoying.
caring.
Annoying. Caring, I'd go with. Annoying because he's a teenager? I mean,
No, annoying because he's like, that's kind of cool.
Okay, I'll actually agree with that one. And because he's a teenager. Best friend from class also.
You're a
And
teenager too.
at one time I used to be annoying, and then I got better. And somewhat annoying. New location, no longer in science, now it's taking place in? Lunch. And what's his new issue?
AKA cafeteria.
His
Bleeding
arm
babies.
is.
And so now his arm is made like the geyser fountain. It's like, and just shooting out blood. But at least the voices are no longer threatening death.
Oh, it's like a water fountain.
And that is like a water fountain, but I would not like that out. That'd be weird. But the idea of it just bleeding is kicking in. Do we have any guesses yet as to what you think is happening to him?
I do.
Sebastian?
The invisible goblin bit him and sucked his blood.
Could be invisible goblins. Lance?
It could be like maybe one of his loved ones died and like they're haunting him.
Ooh. Haunty loved ones. Wesley?
Alright, I have this theory on what's going on.
Okay.
With him. With all the things that the voice is saying to him, you know those movies when people are like in a coma or something and they're dying?
Yeah.
And people say like, his heart rate is falling, it's rising. Tell me that is not what they're saying. I think he's in a coma or something like that. Maybe.
Wesley goes with coma. I can roll with that one. Austin?
He's really dead. He's just dead.
Just dead?
He's not. Yeah, he's dead, but he's in a purgatory where everyone.
Ooh. So all the way dead purgatory. Carter likes that idea. Jehovah?
He's in an overroad, like with all his people, like so he died, like he's in the he's in heaven, like he has like little things like that remind him of what happened and stuff. So like he like I'm gonna go on with him. He's not dead, like he like in a coma what he
He's
said.
like-
He's like visioning.
Why do you keep saying lie?
He like
visioning. He's like visioning like what's happening in the world. Like he's in the world with them. It's like that movie happens. It's like
But Jehovah can
I
rap.
can roll with that. All right.
like
Robert? He was excited. I appreciate your excitement.
He's dying.
Is that because you think that's what's happening, or that'll bring you joy?
Because that's what's happening.
Okay.
His blood is coming out of his arm.
I guess it is blood in the arm. I see. Sam? Is that a delivery for me?
Oh my gosh!
It's not for you, Austin.
I think that's mine.
I just opened the door.
I think that's mine.
Thanks.
Is it for me?
Forgot they could have.
Sam, what's up?
Oh, it's not about this. But I was wondering, do I have to do all the 150 before I can come back in?
Get to 100. We'll let you come in over here. And I can agree to that. All right.
Ooh, wait. Can I add on to
Oh
my
my.
question? If one of them close the door on me, what happens?
Then I get to yell at them.
Bet.
Sebastian?
Go ahead, Austin. Keep on
Maybe
pushing.
he
But
died.
they
He's
said-
replaying the
The door's a
scene.
little too.
Shushy.
Replaying the scene.
Yes.
I can see that. So, this next scene, this is where a lot of you, the foreshadowing is going to start making sense. So, if you figure it out, don't get all yelly. Just hold on to it. All right.
Oh.
School day to there.
I read it.
More voices.
Why would you tell me?
He didn't know any of this. Oh, by the way, there is one more scene that I cut off on the end because that way kids tried to read ahead, so I've not given you the ending of it.
See?
Sam, sorry, he didn't know any of this. Sam looked at the math test again and sighed. All that studying he had done, and it was no help. None of these questions made any sense to him. It was almost like it was written in a language he couldn't understand. He looked at the first question and rubbed at the bandage on his arm. Stupid thing still hurt and wouldn't stop bleeding. It'd been bleeding for almost 2 hours now. Stupid slow trickle that didn't seem to stop. Sam snuck a quick peek around the room to see if anyone else was having trouble with the test. No one else was looking up. They all seemed to be writing furiously. All right then, Sam said quietly to himself. I studied. This should be easy. Let's try the first problem again. Let's see. Gotta get the square root. Not gonna make it, said a loud voice just above his left ear. Not again. Make the voices stop. Tell me who you're talking about. You're driving me crazy. Sam finished his rant in a voice loud enough to nearly qualify as a shout. Well, Mr. Tynes, talking during a test will drive me crazy, his algebra teacher, Mr. Finns, told him. I've heard you've had a rough day, Samuel, but please keep quiet during the test. Shock him! The voice was louder now and almost seemed angry. I'm shocked! I'm shocked! Sam shouted back at the voice. This whole freaking day has been shocking. I don't want any more surprises. If you want to really shock me, try leaving me alone. Yeah, that would shock me. Mr. Tynes, I am shocked also. I am shocked a good student such as yourself would behave like this. That is quite enough. I will not have an outburst like that in class, especially during... Clear! The voice drowned out Mr. Finns' last few words. The voice was insistent this time, almost yelling, but not sounding like it was directed at him. Sam stood and looked around the room. Is what clear? Nothing is clear. I don't understand any of it. The pain that suddenly shot through his chest knocked him off his feet and dropped him onto his butt. His heart and lungs and chest had just simply exploded. His eyes swam with the pain. His buzzing fingertips reminded him of the time he had electrocuted himself screwing in the light bulb up in his attic. He slowly looked down at his chest to see how big the gunshot wound was. It had to have been a bullet. Nothing else could hurt this much. Nothing. No blood, no hole, no bullet. Just intense pain. It hurt so much he could do little more than sit there with his mouth open and gawk at his own uninjured chest. No response, the voice yelled at him. What the bejesus? What do you mean, no response? What kind of response did you want? I mean, it knocked him off his feet. It made his chest explode. He felt like he was dying. Clear, the voice bellowed at him. No, it's not. I don't know what you want. How can it be clear? Who are you? Why are you doing that? Another explosion of pain blasted his chest. He could actually feel his body jerk and jump as something like electricity shot through his entire body. His vision blurred, and he could see the classroom and the stunned expressions of his classmates and teacher as they melted into the whiteness that was surrounding his vision. His hearing seemed to fade as the classroom sounds dissolved. I'm dying, so this is what it's like. But why? Why did they have to kill me? What did I do to them? Stable, he heard this voice, soft voice tell him as his consciousness blinked out. So you don't get to answer anything yet. My question is, how many of you feel pretty strong you know what it is now? All right, let me read final scene, and then we'll go to. So if you want final scene, it's on Canvas.
Oh my God.
Hang on, I'm going to read it to you. I'm just not giving it to you now, because you guys will just jump to the end and yell goblins.
But I can't.
I'm going to put it up here so you can see it, and I'll go through and read it to you. Sam awoke and saw a white room he didn't recognize. He could smell disinfectant, and he heard the voices of people far away, maybe in a hallway. He tried to sit up, but was stopped by the pain that shot through his body. Oh, man, he hurt. That last shock hadn't killed him, but his body sure ached like it had dried. Thought we lost you, the voice said from off to his left. The soft voice he had heard before. So the voices weren't done with him yet. Not again! Why can't you all just leave me alone? Because you probably would have died if we'd done that. Wait, the voices just answered him. The voices never answered. They just spoke. He slowly turned his head to that side. So, how are you feeling, kiddo? The nurse standing next to his bed asked, using the voice he had come to recognize and dread. "Who are you? Where am I? What's going on? How did you manage to—" He trailed off, looking at this lady who was staring at him and adjusting a clear plastic bag hanging on a pole next to his bed. His eyes followed the thin tube connected to the bottom of the bag, followed it down until it connected with his arm, connected with a needle inserted into the bend of his right elbow, exactly where he had been bleeding before. "You were incredibly lucky to survive that car wreck. If you hadn't been wearing your seatbelt, then you'd have been thrown through that windshield, just like you." She stopped short and looked at him again. It was a concerned, motherly look. "Well, you're lucky to be alive anyway." "Car wreck? What car wreck? You mean the one in my dream?" The nurse wrinkled her nose and gave an odd look. "That was no dream, sweetie. That was more like a nightmare. And from what I understand, you almost died last night in the emergency room, too. Your heart just stopped. The doctors had to shock you to get your heart started." Shock me? An eerie thought was beginning to creep up Sam's spine and nudge its way into his brain. "Yes, Sam. They had to use the defibrillators to get your heart beating again. Now, if they hadn't, well, you'd be dead right now." And that's where the story stops.
I knew it.
Good job!
That was crazy.
Good job, Wesley.
I literally predicted it.
I told you, as it went along, the foreshadowing would make more sense.
What's the irony?
I'm so good.
I want to see
Sebastian,
Wesley's a Jedi master.
he's something. So, who were the voices the whole time?
It was
The doctors and nurses. So as we go back and start looking at those foreshadowing clues, Robert,
So like the white eye. It was
hang on, hold on to it, Robert. That's coming up in a moment. I appreciate your eagerness.
Wait, what was the white eye?
When he has a dream about his family dying, how is that foreshadowing?
Because
actually
parents
So
actually
that was the thing that really happened. That was the real life, and then he got knocked unconscious, and that became his imaginary world, which he thought was real.
So his family died.
Oh, really?
No.
Which brings us to when they say they're all dead,
The
who are they
parents.
referring to?
Family.
The family. What other thing in there tells you that the family didn't make it?
They didn't make it.
The nurse.
What does the nurse say?
She says you're lucky to be alive. And
When
like,
she says you're
everyone
lucky to be
knows
alive,
got on.
there you go. So that was the other thing, and so that was the very beginning of it. The first words he hears was, "They're all dead." That'd be the paramedics showing up to the crash scene, and I'm guessing they're showing up and seeing dead people like, "Oh my God, they're all dead!" And then the next thing he heard was like, "We're coming," which is like them coming running up to see if anyone's still alive in the car. Then you get to him seeing the white lights. When he
I got
feels
it.
pressure and the lights, Robert,
Because like he can like open his eyes and see like the room.
close. That wouldn't explain the pressure though, but you're on the right track.
Dude, they were feeling his eye to make sure he
Ari?
still had his eye.
Maybe, okay, I've seen this in movies and stuff. Like sometimes when people go into like hospitals and doctors, they'll like open their eyes and like, I don't know, shine a flashlight and see.
Perfect. And that's how they checked your pupils dilate to see if you're conscious or alive. That's how he was able to feel that pressure on his eye. And then one eye goes white, and then it disappears, and then the other eye goes white. And so that was them using the flashlight to check one eye and then to check the other eye. I dream. And then the blood on the arm, Carter?
The IV. It was like an IV.
Yeah, that'd be the IV. Ooh, which brings us to this next one of, why do the voices say stop fighting it at that same scene?
I know.
Wesley?
So in his like coma, he was like wiping off the blood, and they were like, "Stop fighting it! You
Yep.
need this."
Nicely. Yeah, in the real world, they're trying to put in an IV. In his imaginary world, he's trying to put a Band-Aid on, and he's like, and they're like, "Kid, stop it!" And he keeps trying to, so that was the stop the part. And
Make a paralyzed.
his chest exploding.
Oh.
That would be the
shocker,
The
like
defibrillator.
there you go, the defibrillators, like, yark, that's when they're trying to, that's usually when we get to the clear,
The
you're out there.
Sparky.
Sam, till the end of class, you can't come in yet.
Oh.
It's tomorrow you get to move over to there. After you get done, then you're good to go. So that would be the chest exploding, and that would be the defibrillating, and that's when all of a sudden
shock paddle.
the shock paddle's bringing you back to life.
This
This
is a really cool story.
The foreshadowing's, I like it because at the very beginning, you guys are like, I have no idea. He's crazy and insane. Then all of a sudden as it goes along, you're like, wait a minute. And then all of the things start to come.
I mean, I was kind of right.
No, probably Wesley.
Like this.
It's so pretty.
I know.
Who is the third character we can officially add?
The doctor.
The nurse.
The nurse.
The nurse. Nicely done. And then, ooh, and where's our final location we can add?
The hospital.
Nicely done again.
Let's go.
Wait, no, it can't be a.
We could also add car crash in the beginning.
You could be at the very.
But you should say
Yeah,
emergency
say that.
room.
But as far as like him being awake, that's why I count the hospital at the end. But yeah, I would say if you did car crash, I wouldn't yell at you on that.
Wait, what about the wind in the nurse room?
I didn't add that in there, but that would count that too. So decision. During story, what decision does Sam have to make during this whole thing?
To respond to the voices.
Or,
To accept craziness.
works for me, to fight the voices or accept the craziness they're all yelling at him. At lunch, Trevor has a decision to make.
Oh, to believe his friend or not to believe his friend.
I'm sorry, what was that, Globetrotter?
Globetrotter.
What word was just used?
To believe or not to believe.
What word is that?
Or.
That's the word you're supposed to use.
Not.
I just said or.
That
Uh-huh.
was not.
It was not. Nor.
Uh-huh, my little Globy. But I would agree.
I'm coming for you, boss.
So on that one, if you are sitting at lunch and all of a sudden your friend's arm started shooting blood at you out of nowhere, what would most of you do?
Oh no.
Yeah, like, oh my God, you freak, what is wrong with you?
Mr.
But
Brovicast.
that's not what Trevor does.
I know
Uh-huh.
what they'd say. Someone call an ambulance. But not for me.
But Trevor either avoid his friend or he chooses to help him out. I'm sorry, you see the word not up there? Go ahead and look closely. Oh, are you not seeing it? Robert.
I know that I'm sure conflict.
Well, what two things are fighting each other?
The voices and Sam
But how do we write it correctly?
Versus.
versus.
So put it all together.
Sam versus the voices much like
Wait, Sam versus death.
what?
He could have
But
done
he
that.
doesn't know it's death until the
Yeah.
very end. I would
Yeah,
accept
but
that if you
still.
explained it, yeah. If you explain that in things like Sam versus death because he's dying, yes. He just doesn't know he's dying throughout most of it. Plot, we're going to come back to. Skip that for now.
Wow.
Ooh, point of view. Is it first or third?
Third.
First.
Third.
First.
Omniscient.
Hang on, we're going to do it by show of hands. Take a look at story real quick. Decide if it's first or third. Let's go with first person,
No.
third person. I would agree.
I agree.
Does it follow one or many?
Many.
Many.
So there's a scene that Sam is not in. What scene is Sam not in?
The car crash.
He's in the car crash.
So is there a scene without Sam?
No.
So who's in every scene?
Sam.
So it's limited.
Oh.
So if he's in every scene, that makes it limited. Skip the theme bit, and then from there.
Don't give up.
Tomorrow, what you're going to have to make sure you can do for Thingy Thing is you're going to have to be able to recognize what part of story is exposition, what part is rising action, stuff like that. Make sure you have read story for tomorrow. I don't want to be mean to you, so please have read it. 3:30, I will send out links so you can just watch video of me doing it or read it yourself. As long as you've read it and you understand what happens in it and the characters and like the setting, you should be fine. If you want to review, just in your head, go, when does it take place? Where does it take place? What is the exposition? Go through the things we've been doing, all this stuff. Do that and you should be fine.